Welcome to camp. Thought I would take some time today to show you around, show you everything that I built while I'm out here, and give you a little tour of the tent. Figured we'd start here at the campfire. Pretty basic, just a nice little fire pit. I have my pot hanger, stump seat with a backrest. I've spent quite a few nights out here next to the heat of the campfire, staring up at the stars. Been getting the northern lights and the Milky Way. It's been real pretty and really enjoyable experience. Further out from the tent, I've got my smoker, which has been smoking and preserving all my extra meat out here that I can't eat when it's fresh, and it's been doing a really good job for me. I have 4 racks in here, can handle a lot of meat, and all the dried meat that I made so far has been tasting pretty fantastic. The smoker is a really simple design, but it's been working quite effectively. I'm really happy with how it turned out. Alright, onto the tent. I'm sure I will have a lot of people wondering about it, so let's get to it. This is a 5-meter canvas bell tent. 5 meters meaning at the base of the tent, its diameter is 5 meters, so a very large tent, especially for one person, but it's been an absolute pleasure to live out of for the past few weeks. Now, I bought this tent with my own money after doing my own research on what style of tent I wanted. These cone-shaped tents are supposed to be the best for standing up in rather inclement weather and high winds and rains and such, and I can attest to that. This has been put through some pretty heavy winds out here. A few times I thought the tent was going to blow away, but it held solid. And I set this tent up without the factory poles. I've got a tree as my center pole, and then a little bipod out front as my door frame, and all the pegs are just wooden stakes that are pounded into the ground. So that's why it's not quite perfectly set up, but despite that, it's still held up to some pretty heavy winds, so I'm really impressed with it. Now, the reason why I bought this particular tent from this particular brand is that it was on sale. It had good reviews and it was on sale, so I saved a couple $100. It did come with factory poles, it came with all the stakes, and it comes with a floor as well. I removed that for this trip simply for the fact that it's a lot easier to live out of without having a floor in here. I don't have to worry about wearing my shoes in the tent, or with the wood stove I don't have to worry about burning a hole in the floor, so that's why I set it up this way, and not having to pack the poles or the stakes out just made my load that much lighter. I got this tent about 6 or 7 months ago, used it a few times over the summer, never with the wood stove. This is my first time running it with the wood stove, but all in all, I'm really happy with it. It's been a good purchase, and I'm definitely going to get a lot of use out of it over the years. As you come through the door, the first thing you see is the wood stove, the heart of the tent. This stove has been working pretty good for me. I think for a tent this size, a little bit larger stove would be beneficial, mainly for the fact that you can only fit so much fuel in this stove, so you do have to feed it rather regularly. But I've been able to get about 3 to 4 hour burn times out of it, so I usually only have to get up once throughout the night to stoke the fire. This is a relatively small stove. It's made by a company called Nyko. Again, purchased this with my own money. It's about 19 inches long by 10 inches by 10 inches. Inside the burn box, I believe it's about 17 by 8 by 7. I have a false bottom in there, so it takes up a little bit of extra space, but I've just been burning wrist size or 2 to 3 inch diameter logs in here, and I can usually get 5 or 6 in there. Like I said, I can get about a 3 to 4 hour burn time, keeping the tent nice and hot. Only have to get up once throughout the night to stoke it. All in all, it's been a real pleasure to use. Next to the stove, I've got my meat drying rack, so once my meat's done smoking, I can bring it in here and finish it off overnight, drying next to the heat of the fire. This has been working excellent for me. I've produced some really good dry meat, real tasty, and it's been keeping me going throughout this trip. I should add, for the wood stove, a good pair of leather gloves are a must-have for handling anything that's hot, adjusting the stove, opening it up, loading wood. These have been a lifesaver out here, and I wouldn't burn a stove without them. But moving along, we are at the bed. I'm so happy that I made this bed at the bottom of the tent. That's where the cold air settles. The wood stove does a good job heating the upper air, but along the ground there is just a pocket of cold air that you can't get rid of. And sleeping on the ground would have been pretty cold in the later parts of this trip. Temperatures have been getting really cold at night, well below 0, so I'm really glad that I spent the time to make this bed. Not only does it keep me warm, it is super comfy. With this grass mattress on here, I've been living in luxury. It is super comfy. These poles add a little bit of spring to it, so when you're moving around at night, it's not knocking on a hard surface. You're springing up and down. Gives you a little extra cushion. I did make this bed a little bit longer than I needed, but it kind of worked out. This is where I've been keeping all my spare clothes and stuff, keeping them off the ground, and it's been nice to have them here organized and ready to grab when I need them. Coming along from the bed, I've got this little section that I've just been using for storage, keeping my extra bag, my food bag, all my pots and pans, extra footwear, my tools, my rifle, just lots of space in here so I can store it pretty easily. I'm trying to keep things as organized as I can. I like a nice organized camp. I do have a large variety of cookware out here. I've got a couple full-size skillets, my small coffee pot or kettle, and then 2 larger pots, which I've primarily been using this large one for water. It's a 5-liter pot, so I can boil a lot of water at once. I've only had to boil water once a day throughout the entirety of this trip. Usually just boil it at night, and then it cools down overnight, and then throughout the next day I've got fresh, cold drinking water. And this pot was really nice when I've been making my stews. And yeah, you can fit a lot of food in there, that's for sure. So usually I was making a pot of stew, and then I would eat half of it and save the rest for lunch or supper the next day. And having such a variety of cookware out here has been a real pleasure. And I do have another large pot that I've been using as a wash pot for washing clothes and washing myself as well. As I mentioned before, my center pole is a tree, and I left some nubs of branches on it so that I can hang stuff off of it, which makes it really convenient for drying out clothes, or in this case I'm drying out my wash rags. I carry 3 wash rags in this camp, one for drying my hands after they're clean, one for drying my dishes once they're clean, and then one for washing my face and body. But being able to hang stuff up so close to the stove is allowing me to keep everything nice and dry, which is making life out here very comfortable. So this trip has been an absolute dream come true for me, being out here, living out in the wilderness, living off the landscape, hunting and trapping for food, and just enjoying nature. Unfortunately, this is where the series is going to end. This trip has outlived the amount of battery that I have brought with me. I am running on my last camera battery right now, and it is getting low. So this is where the series is going to end. If you've stuck with me throughout this series, I just want to give you a great big thank you. This has been an absolute dream of mine to be out here, and to be filming it all and being able to share it with you is such a pleasure. So thank you so much for watching. By the time you're seeing this, we will be well into winter, so the next time you see me, I will likely be out hiking through the snow, hopefully with a minimalistic kit, heading off into the backcountry. A big contrast to this camp, but both styles of camping are quite enjoyable for me, so I'm excited for what the future holds. I hope that I will see you in the next one. Once again, thank you for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. God bless, and happy trails.